Ladies and gentlemen, introducing Commissioner Joe Partain.
Boo!
Boo! Hello. Thank you, everybody, and welcome to our special edition of Sideliners on Wire TV, the NFL Mock Draft. Today, we'll be discussing the top 10 picks of our predictions of the NFL Draft. Me, Robert Camiso, and Dominic Arbolino, our NFL analysts for today. Guys?
How's it going? We're excited to be
everybody?
here.
I mean, this is a time where teams can further their future, or it's going to be shorter if they mess it up. So it's going to be interesting.
The only way to see is to get right into it. So let's head back to Joe for that first pick.
With the first pick in the NFL Draft of 2019, the Arizona Cardinals select Kyler Murray from the University of Oklahoma. Guys, what do we think about the pick?
I mean, as expected. I'm not really that shocked. We've heard the rumors happening ever since kind of Cliff Kingsbury has been hired there as the head coach, and it's the type of quarterback he wants to work with. I just kind of feel bad for Josh Rosen if this is the case.
Yeah, Josh Rosen, I feel like they didn't give him the real chance he deserves, but, everyone kind of saw this coming. Everyone kind of saw once it was Cliff Kingsbury in Arizona that, the first pick would be with Kyler Murray. So, I don't know how good of a pick it is. I feel like maybe they could have used some offensive line help or even defensive help. But
at number one, though, in terms of an offensive line.
Well,
you could always
Nick
back.
Bosa was there, too. Nick Bosa was on number one on a mock draft for a while.
Well, yeah, I know, but, he's a defensive player, though. You said offensive line help.
Well, offensive line or defensive help, either way.
Yeah, okay.
But, I think that they really have their, or at least they feel that they have their quarterback of the future here.
See, here's the thing. I just feel like, if you're the Arizona Cardinals, you're thinking, wow, we really messed up if this is the case. And I think that, I don't really think they need to go this pick. I don't like it, but I know they're going to do it because it's just like something, every head coach wants their own quarterback. It's just how it's going to be. So I'm just wondering if it's going to be the right move. I think they should go a guy like Nick Bosa or even somebody else, but I think it'll be an okay move.
And even so, this is one of the weaker quarterback draft classes. So,
exactly.
With someone of Kyler Murray's caliber, you want to make sure you get him off the board quick. Now, Joe, do you have anything to add on this pick, or are you ready to move on?
I think it's going to be interesting to see where Josh Rosen ends up after all of this dust settles from the draft. I think it is pretty obvious that Kyler Murray will be the first pick of this draft, and it's sad to see Josh Rosen leave there, but maybe he'll be able to thrive somewhere else.
Maybe Washington.
Anyways, we're going to get on to the second pick of the 2019 NFL Draft. With the second pick, the San Francisco 49ers select Nick Bosa out of Ohio State University. So, defensive end, 6'4", 267 pounds. What do we think of the pick, guys?
I got to say, I like this pick for the 49ers. The 49ers used to have one of the best defenses in the league. And, they've kind of dwindled off in the past couple of years. So I feel like getting that big name in on defense will really help them, especially right on the line. Nick Bosa, if he's anything like his brother, he's going to absolutely dominate the league. But, I'm excited to see what this 49er defense could do if they pick up Nick Bosa.
Yeah, and definitely. He's going to be the best player on the board. Honestly, should be the number one overall pick in this draft. But obviously, quarterbacks just get drafted that way. But I really like it. I think it's definitely going to obviously help out the defense as a whole, but also the secondary. If you're going to be able to have guys go out there and, try and be, sacking obviously the opponent's quarterback, then it's going to give more time for the, the secondary to be able to, really cover their, receivers and tight ends and everything that, is going to be out there. I really like this pick for the 49ers. I can see it as a realistic pick. I really can. But, they could go elsewhere. I've heard some Quinn Williams, they get some interior defensive linemen. So, it's pretty much of a toss-up. But I think Nick Bosa is the best pick right now.
Yeah, I'm excited to see. The only thing I would be concerned about is how well he will work with Kyle Shanahan now in the new 49ers.
Yes,
I feel like they're going to try to shift to an offensive-minded team because they've always been a defensive-minded team. And now in, the current NFL, you have to be a offensive superpower to even have a chance. That's why the Rams came in last year, and the Patriots are really the only team that have been defying that law so far, and that's just because of Tom Brady. So I am interested to see how Nick Bosa will fit under Kyle Shanahan's new, almost geared toward moving towards an offensive team.
Yeah, and Nick Bosa, he's a playmaker, so I'm expecting him to come out right off the bat and making plays, and that's exactly what the Niners need. They need more playmakers to help out Jimmy Garoppolo because they paid him a lot of money. Right now he's proving he didn't deserve it, but there is still some time on his contract, and he's still young. So we'll see what happens.
Yeah, I would have to agree. Now, I got to ask, Joe, if you think this is the right pick for the 49ers.
I think this is absolutely the right pick for the 49ers. I think they're trying to build up the defensive line, and I think that's a great way to start a foundation for a team that's looking to, rebuild from within here. And I think Nick Bosa is definitely the right pick here. So to move on to the third pick of the NFL draft, the New York Jets on the clock select Josh Allen out of the University of Kentucky. He is a linebacker, 6'5", 260 pounds, just a mammoth of a man. Guys, what do we think?
I love this pick for the New York Jets. I mean, when you think about it, it's either going to probably be him or Nick Bosa, depending on how the draft shakes up. There obviously is the option that the New York Jets can trade back. You've heard General Manager Mike McCagnon talk about it before, and it definitely is an option because they can trade back and possibly get an offensive lineman or maybe secondary help. But if they're staying put at 3, I want them to take best player available, and I think Josh Allen is going to be that guy. He's the edge rusher they wanted out of Anthony Barr, but couldn't sign him because Minnesota offered him, a little more money, and then obviously he chose to stay home. But that helped in terms of getting Le'Veon Bell. They were able to offer him more money, and now you're getting Josh Allen, who's younger. And you think about it with the New York Jets, edge rushing was the biggest problem. And they need guys that are going to go out and be able to get the quarterback to obviously help out the secondary. And I think it's the perfect move if they're going to, stay put at 3.
Yeah, I would have to agree. This New York Jets team is a young team. They got a lot of talent coming in, especially with the signing of Le'Veon Bell coming in. So if they could manage to get Josh Allen or even Nick Bosa, depending, like you said, how the draft falls, that would be a great young core that they could keep on that team for years to come. And putting Josh Allen on the New York Jets would automatically make him the best Josh Allen in New York.
Oh, yeah. I mean, better than the running back in Buffalo.
Yeah, the running back in Buffalo. He's hurdling people for fun, but in all seriousness, I do think the Jets will get a lot of much-needed help on that defensive line if they bring in Josh Allen, and even in the linebacker core, like you said, because Anthony Barr, kind of backed out of the deal they had. So, it's going to be interesting to see how they would work out with Josh Allen.
Yeah, the New York Jets just can't miss on this draft. I feel like this is a really important draft for them where they made their acquisitions in free agency, and now it's to take that jump and have a really good draft.
Yeah, I would have to agree. But we are going to be right back with the 2019 NFL mock draft with the next 3 picks. See you in a minute.
Getting closer to nature can get you closer to your family. Go to discovertheforest.org.
All right, good stuff. And we'll be back after this quick commercial break.
All right, good stuff, guys. We got 30 seconds. We'll come back and we'll talk about basketball, right? Talk about basketball?
Yeah, sounds good. The Knicks have been horrible lately.
Yeah. All right.
Always coming for us.
All right. Let's dump out and we'll come back in 5, 4, 3, 2. Take 2. Cue talent.
Hello, everybody, and welcome back to Sideliners on Wire TV. This is the NFL mock draft, and the first 3 picks have already been talked about in Kyler Murray, Nick Bosa, and Josh Allen. And now we are on to the 4th pick of the 2019 NFL mock draft. The Raiders on the clock will be selecting Quinnen Williams from Alabama Crimson Tide. The defensive tackle stands 6'4", 295 pounds. Boys, what do we think about this pick?
I'm a big fan of this pick. I think the Raiders have added a lot of pieces. They added offensive pieces, so it would be nice to get someone on the defense to be able to help them out right there. And Williams had a great year in Alabama last year, and so I feel that he would be a very nice pick. And in addition to Antonio Brown coming over and John Gruden, I feel like John Gruden was really good at kind of breeding the young players when he was the coach about 10 years ago. So, I feel like that would be a good pick and be a solid start to a defensive line that they can continue to grow with.
Yeah, and I really like the pick for the Raiders if this was the case. I mean, Quinnen Williams was a great interior defensive lineman for Alabama, and I think that's just what the Raiders need. I'm wondering though if they would go this route if this was the case, because I know they've been saying stuff about a quarterback. I know that obviously teams throw out rumors throughout the lead up because that's what they want to do. They want some confusion to happen. So I'm wondering would they maybe be in the area of trading up, even though it's only a couple of picks? Are they just going to hope that someone falls there, or are they going to just go somewhere else and believe in Derek Carr, which I think they should. I think it's too late to give up on Derek Carr, especially that the contract the Raiders gave him. But I definitely would like this Quinnen Williams pick for the Raiders if that's the case of where they're going.
Yeah, it would be interesting to see if they wanted to trade up because it would take a lot, and everyone knows that Kyler Murray is going to go with the Arizona Cardinals, most likely.
See, yeah, here's the thing, though. Yes, that's what they're leaning towards, but, I feel like the day of, you never know. And I feel like everything changes. So it's like, from what we believe in, what we've been hearing, that's the case. But
it could be interesting to see. Maybe the Raiders could give up Derek Carr for that first pick and take Kyler Murray.
Yeah, I mean, it's going to be more of a package, but I get.
Yeah, it's all hypothetical, but so I feel that pick would be overall a solid pick for them, and
Agreed.
I think we're ready to see who the next team would pick.
Yeah.
So, back to this. With the 5th pick in the 2019 NFL Draft, the Tampa Bay Buccaneers will be selecting Devin White out of LSU. He is a linebacker who stands 6 foot tall, 238 pounds. He's a smaller linebacker, but he's quick on his feet. Boys, what do we think?
I love this pick for Tampa Bay, and I know that Tampa Bay loves Devin White, and I know exactly why. Todd Bowles, he's the defensive coordinator. He loves linebackers that, are able to do everything. They're able to do it all. And I think Devin White is that type of player. I love the mentality he has, and I think Tampa Bay is the best team for him. He's going to fit well in there. Tampa Bay just recently lost Quan Alexander to the San Francisco 49ers. I think he's easily going to be able to fill that role. And I think Todd Bowles, terrible head coach, but I think he's a great defensive coordinator. You saw that in Arizona. You saw that the Jets did have some good defenses, throughout his tenure as a head coach. And then I also think he's going to have a good defense with the Tampa Bay.
Yeah, guys, I just want to say something to build upon what Dom just said.
Sure.
Devin White is definitely the kind of guy who can do just about everything on the field, and I think that Todd Bowles is looking for somebody just like him. In college, he was actually not in college. In high school, he was seen as a running back in high school, actually.
Yeah.
So as a smaller guy to come into college and work on his build and work on his game on the defensive side of the ball, and to come out here as a 5th round pick, this guy's got something going for him, and I think it'd be a great pick.
He kind of reminds me of Jonathan Vilma from back with the old Saints defense. He's a smaller linebacker.
Jets too.
Yeah.
That was most of his
but
career.
that was the lesser of the two important.
Yes.
But yeah, like Jonathan Vilma, he's a smaller linebacker, but he could still do a lot in the field. He could get around, deflect passes. He could get behind the line. He could pass rush. And the only thing that I have to worry about is his off the field problems, because he has been charged before and he has had some off the field problems. But it seems that if he were to be such an early pick, it's kind of hard to not put those things behind you and just kind of move on for the better of your life.
Yeah, and I think for Todd Bowles, I think Devin White is what he wanted out of Darren Lee, pretty much. And I think he's going to get that with Devin White.
100%.
Opposed to Darren Lee.
I would have to agree. And, Todd Bowles does like the LSU players.
He does.
He's a big fan of them.
Yes.
All right, Joe, I think we're ready to move on to the next pick.
All right, fellas, back here for the 6th pick of the 2019 NFL mock draft here on Sideliners. We have the New York Giants on the clock, selecting Montez Sweat out of Mississippi State University. He is a defensive end who stands at a large 6'6", 260 pounds. But the man is faster than he looks. What do we think?
I'm just going to go out and say my Giants. I am a big fan of this pick. Not necessarily because of the player, but because they didn't draft a quarterback in this mock draft.
Yep.
The New York Giants don't need to take a quarterback this year. They need a defensive player like Montez Sweat. And it's important to get that edge rush, especially since we lost Jason Pierre-Paul and Olivier Vernon. Now we have no one to really rush the passer, and that's always something the Giants have prided themselves on, is being able to get to the passer and being able to sack someone. And, I feel that he's a nice young guy that could come in and they could breed him into being the next great Giants defensive end.
And at his size, too, for him to be that quick, to think about, being an offensive lineman going up against him, it's really scary. I mean, just think about it because, the size, and then you also have the speed to add to that. I agree with you. I think the Giants shouldn't be taking a quarterback with the 6th overall pick. I think they would be dumb to. It's not the draft to do it. And, I'm pretty sure they're pretty solid with sticking with Eli again, even if that's really not the best move, but it's better than taking one of these guys and throwing them into, like, this team. I feel like you're just setting them up to fail. But, I could see, I've said this before, I would like to see them trade for Josh Rosen. If he's not traded by the time, Kyler Murray is taken, I think that makes Josh Rosen's stock fall even lower, and I think the Giants can draft him and still keep their 2 first-round picks.
Yeah, well, even so, the Giants do have that number 17 pick. So there are going to be a couple quarterbacks in this draft. They may not be the strongest quarterbacks, but there's at least going to be 1 or 2 that could fall down to that pick. So if they could get them at the number 17 pick, then they could still take a defensive player or even an offensive lineman at that, number 6 pick. But that's going to be it for this round of picks. We're going to be back with the last 4 picks right after this commercial break.
Looking for these? You drive Buzzed. It could be one very expensive ride.
First, you gotta make bail. Then pay me to get your car back.
Your insurance premiums will go through the roof.
And my legal fees just keep adding up. All told, it could end up costing you $10,000.
Buzzed, busted, and broke. Because buzz driving is drunk driving.
And that's the last time I threw a beer around our test.
I believe you, man.
What a time. All right, so that'll do it for another episode of the Sideliners on Wire TV.
And this is Sideliners.
When you throw away money on wasted electricity, you're throwing away everything you could have bought with it. Saving energy saves you money. Learn more at EnergySavers.gov.
Hello, everybody, and welcome back to the 2019 NFL Mock Draft here on Sideliners on Wire TV. I am your host and commissioner for the night, Joe Partain, and we are down to the last 4 picks here of the top 10. Right now on the clock, we have the Jacksonville Jaguars, who will be selecting Jawan Taylor out of University of Florida. He is an offensive tackle who stands at 6'5" and a stunning 312 pounds. Guys, what do we think of this pick?
I think this is a good pick for the Jacksonville Jaguars. They just signed Nick Foles, so they're going to need help on the offensive line to keep him protected. They're paying him a lot of money. They can't have him come in and then immediately get hurt. It's just not worth it to pay a man that much money and then have him come get hurt because of the offensive line. So he's coming out of Florida. He's a pretty solid tackle. He has some room to develop. He definitely needs to grow a little bit more, but I think it's a solid pick, and they could help him develop into a starting offensive tackle.
Yeah, I like this pick a lot, like you said. I mean, you paid Nick Foles this much money. You got to make sure he's standing up and going to be able to make it to every game. They had to cut some of their offensive line depth, in order to have the cap space to sign Nick Foles. I really like this pick. I think Jawan Taylor can be a good offensive tackle in the league, and I like his fit with Jacksonville. Also, Leonard Fournette, too, he kind of, has been falling off a little bit. So I know it's just 1 year, but I want to make sure that, has his protection that he needs so he can, thrive.
Yeah, it's interesting to see what's going to be going on in Jacksonville because they made a lot of changes this offseason. Yeah. And it's going to be interesting to see if it all pays off for them.
They could even go wide receiver here.
Yeah,
they need one.
They could go DK Metcalf.
Yeah,
he's been
they could
on
trade
a lot
back.
of boards.
everything. I could definitely see them as a trade back option.
Yeah. Well, let's move on to the next pick. Back to you, Joe.
How's it going, guys? Back to the draft board here with the 8th pick in the 2019 NFL mock draft. The Detroit Lions select Rashawn Gary out of University of Michigan. He's a defensive tackle standing 6'5", 278 pounds, big, strong, and fast. Guys, what do we think about this pick for the Lions?
Now, I might be wrong on this, but Ezekiel Ansah, I know he hasn't signed with the team, but I don't believe he's going to be re-signing with the Lions, and I think exactly why they're going to be going with this pick. I think this is a guy that can work in Matt Patricia's, defense, even though it's the whole team, but, it's still, I would say it's his defense.
Yeah.
He definitely runs it more than the defensive coordinator does, I think. But I like the pick a lot. I think this is exactly what the Lions need. I really can't see right now at this pick they would be taking somebody else unless they're considering trading down.
Yeah, I would have to agree. I think this is a smart pick for them, especially with everything with Ezekiel Ansah. He might not be coming back. So it's good to have a strong defensive line. On offense, they could use a couple pieces if maybe they want to trade up, but they don't really necessarily need to.
Yeah.
Lions have always kind of been mid-range for the past couple years. Never really been one of the best teams, but they've never been one of the worst teams in the past. So they're just trying to add those little pieces that will help them move on to the next step and trying to move up in their division.
And I was going to say maybe they can even possibly trade back and draft a wide receiver as well. But I think just the defensive end is their biggest need, and I think it's the best fit for them.
Yeah, I would have to agree. But I'm excited to see who this next pick's going to be. Joe?
Hey guys, welcome back here. With the 9th pick of the 2019 NFL mock draft, the Buffalo Bills will be selecting Jonah Williams out of Alabama. He is one of the only 5-star recruits in the entire draft class. He is an offensive tackle. He stands 6'4" and 302 pounds. What do we think about the pick?
Buffalo, has been, if this is the route they're going, they're really stocking their offensive line this offseason. Not that this is a great signing, but they signed Spencer Long when the Jets released him. They signed Mitch Morse from Kansas City, and now obviously adding Jonah Williams would be, a big improvement to their offensive line to help out Josh Allen and LaShawn McCoy until, he's there whenever he either gets traded or just, something happens with him. But I like this move a lot for the Bills. I would like to see them honestly add possibly a playmaker. I would like to see them add a guy like DK Metcalf or a wide receiver. I think that's the better route for them to go to because I really don't think they have, even though they signed, you have, what's his name? Cole Beasley and stuff like that, and John Brown.
I would have to agree. Now I'm interested to know, Joe, what do you think of this pick?
So what I wanted to say about this pick is this man, Jonah Williams, coming out of Alabama, was recruited as one of the most fundamentally sound players that the league has seen in a while. And for somebody like the Bills who are going to be definitely needing this pick, I think it's a good idea to go with him, and I think it's a very safe pick. Somebody who's good fundamentally is not somebody who's going to flop once they make it to the big leagues. It's somebody who's going to work harder to get even better and learning from the people around him. So Jonah Williams, I see him as one of the top picks here, and I'm really surprised that he's going as low as number 9.
Yeah, I would have to agree. I think it's smart. You want to protect Josh Allen, make sure he's a young quarterback. He likes to run a lot, so it's good to make sure that he doesn't get hurt in the backfield. And, I think it's, like Joe was saying, it's a fundamentally sound pick because he's just smart and he knows what he's doing on pretty much every play from what we could see. So I'm excited to get to this next pick right now. So what do we got, Joe?
With the 10th overall pick in the 2019 NFL Draft, the Denver Broncos will be selecting Drew Lock out of the University of Missouri. He is a quarterback standing 6'4" and 227 pounds. This is the only pick that I didn't really see as expected, almost a surprise kind of pick. What do you guys think?
Well, I have to say the Denver Broncos, they've had, a lot of quarterback turmoil over the past couple of years, starting from Peyton Manning, going to Trevor Siemian, and then Case Keenum, and then, they've
Even
been
Brock
all over.
was thrown in there too.
Yeah, they've been all over. So I think it's important for them to get a young quarterback that they could kind of lock down, have them sit behind a veteran for
no pun intended.
No pun intended. Thank you. But yeah, someone to have on their roster that could sit behind, one of the veterans that they could sign for a low amount of money and just have him kind of learn for a couple of years and then come in when he's ready. I don't think Drew Lock is ready to come in and be a starter right now, But I think if you give him a couple of years, he'll be one of those quarterbacks that can come in.
See, here for me, I'm just really not a fan of really any quarterbacks in this this draft to begin with. So I really don't like the move for the Broncos, only because I feel like I'd rather them take a position, like a different position player. Honestly, like they could really take any other position, and I would be okay with it as long as it's not a kicker or a punter. Because I think the quarterbacks in this draft, I'm really not high on them, and I think the Broncos need to just wait their turn. I know next year's quarterback class is so much better. I know it stinks to have like another off year, maybe you're going to have another bridge quarterback, but I think, you know, there's a guy out there that might not want to play again, but the Jets already have their quarterback set. And if you want to sign Josh McCown for a year, go ahead and do it, Denver. I think that's the best move.
Yeah, I would have to agree. Joe, do you think this is the best pick for Denver?
No, honestly, I don't think this is the best pick for Denver, and that's why it took me so surprised. I was surprised by it when I saw it on the list. He's nowhere near an elite level quarterback. He doesn't show the qualities needed to take that step to the next level and start leading a team anytime soon, I don't think. I see him as a career backup, honestly. He's inaccurate, he hasn't fully developed yet, and he's just not right for the part here. He shouldn't be getting taken this high, let alone in the first round at all, honestly. But that's my pick. Now, I wanted to ask you guys a question. We still have a little bit of time left here.
Sure.
If there was one pick out of these 10 that we went through today, which one do you think is the one that you don't see really happening? And if you have a prediction for who might be picked there, who would it be?
I'm going to have to go, for me, the Giants pick, because I don't know what it is with the Giants. They are just seem to not know what they're doing when it comes to drafting. Last year, they hit the gold mine with Saquon Barkley, and that was a big thanks to Dave Gettleman. But this year, I just have some overwhelming feeling that the Giants are going to mess it up and take a quarterback at 6 that they just don't need to take. They're going to probably take a quarterback at 6 and then try to take DK Metcalf at 17 if he drops, trying to replace Odell Beckham Jr.
Yeah.
Which just isn't going to happen, even though, they signed Golden Tate to a ridiculous contract that he doesn't deserve.
Yeah. So, my pick, I would have to go with, honestly, the New York Jets. I don't see them. I think they want to get back the picks they lost for Sam Darnold and, having to trade up to 3 with the Colts. As much as I would like them to choose Josh Allen, and I think they should be taking Josh Allen, I think that they can get a lot of picks if they, maybe like trade down to 15 or something and draft a guy like Greedy Williams. They need another cornerback for their secondary, and I think that's the way to go. Maybe even take a wide receiver. But I mean, hopefully they'll stick at 3, but I think that's the way they're going to be going.
I have to agree. Joe, do you have a pick that you would change?
No, I honestly don't really think that any of these picks are that far off. Maybe the Josh Allen one from the Jets if they decide to trade down, but I think Josh Allen is the right pick for them at 3 if the draft falls the way that we think it will. But I did have one more question that I wanted to ask you guys, being that we still have a couple of more minutes. We haven't really talked about Kyler Murray and his whole baseball fiasco. He was drafted 15th in the first round by the Oakland A's and then proceeded to tell them that he won't be showing up to spring training and won't be playing for them. Do you think that was the right move for him?
Well, I mean, if he gets drafted number 1 overall, I think it is. I mean, he's going to be able to start right away, and he's going to make a ton of money right off the bat. And if he's successful with it, then he's going to be there to stay, and he's going to get a lot of money. So I think it's the right move if it works out.
Yeah, I would have to agree. I think the whole concept of playing 2 sports at one time only causes problems. It caused a lot of problems and a lot of bad off-the-field antics when Deion Sanders tried doing it.
Yeah.
He was missing practices, and he, just wasn't being there with his teammates.
It's just double the workload.
Yeah, and, I think for someone to be able to play a professional sport, they have to be fully committed to that sport and that sport only.
Yep.